I am Jeffrey Rokohut. This is my Potter's Journal for June now, 2025. I've been making little salt cellars, mugs, getting ready for Slovenfest. Okay, coming up in about 6 weeks, but you can't wait till the last week to start making the pots. I started making, this is the poticnik. It's a potica or nut roll baking pan. Actually, anybody can bake anything in these. But if you're Slovenian cultural identity pot, I'm known at this show as the Slovenian Potter. I hear my name called out. I just got this shirt, the coat of arms from the flag on the shirt. I will walk you today through all stages of making these. All except maybe the throwing, which is what we usually think of when we think of making a pot, but there's so much more involved that you don't always see in a video. Okay, let's see what went on in the studio over about an 8-week period to get 30 of these made. I still have 10 more to go. It is that time of year, March 1st, or is it 3rd? Time to start getting ready for Slovenfest and making the potica pans. Here are the first 5 at 2 pounds, just off the wheel. And it is now November 13th in my count to Slovenfest. Okay, the weekend after the 4th of July. And gotta start early to get all of the potica pans, the poticnica, done. I figured this is the part you want to see. I am now on to the ones that are 5 pounds each. I'm making 5 of them. And this is the part where we alter the side. I grew up with a Peter Volkus idea of altering. This is quite different. And I do some with a straight rim, and it gets the Slovenian squiggle on it, and some like this with the crimped rim. I think this is what seems to be the more popular. And you might say I made 6, but this one doesn't count, except for a chance to see how thick the walls were. Now this part we do trim off, you see the line there, and I do sometimes give that another little bit of an undercut. And correction, those last 5 were at 4 pounds, and I said November, well that was March 13th. This next batch was made on March 24th. And this time I've moved up to 5 pounds of clay, and there are 8 of them. And the next step of the process is the decorating. And after it has set up a day, it is time to do the slip. I have got a very thin, watery clay, and I put it in this little squeegee thing. And we start with the Slovenian squiggle. And then we move on to some dots. I have 2 sizes. This one has a little bit finer tip, and there's a second one with a little broader tip. And underneath this, on the base of it, I did put
a black slip to help show this off. And if I'm really getting good at this, maybe we can just keep the wheel spinning. But that might make them look too perfect. Okay. And machine-like. So maybe we shouldn't be doing it that way. Don't worry. Our squiggle, this is not the best squiggle of the 8 that I've done today. And then, at least to start lining this up, I go to where the bat pins are. And on this side, size, put the first of 6 flowers with 5 petals. As I move up in size, I put 6 petals on them, and then in the bigger ones, I'll even put a dot inside the dot. But this side is somewhat elaborate. And then, okay, I spaced those with the back pins, but these I just put in here by eye. In case we got something too perfect, this will level it out. And there's not much room for much floral on this size, so we will just put some floral leaves in one direction. And I don't decorate this middle till last, because if I do, it might get smeared while doing the side. I've done this all in great detail in previous videos. They are all in a playlist. Okay, the Slovenian potter. The bigger sizes will get 5 dots, and the biggest will have even a dot in a dot. I don't think I could have done this for the camera when I first did these 3 years ago. But now, it's becoming second nature. We lost a bat pin. Well, that's okay. We don't really need it. I think we can do this middle part without it being completely centered. Ta-da! And now it is April 9th. These are the 6-pound potica pans. And after decorating, they're still very wet. Let them dry out a bit longer, and we will trim the bottoms. There is a good bit of weight to these. Okay, so this outer end here was trimmed when it was on the wheel, but sometimes I'll give it a bit more. And there is a good bit of weight to these, so they really don't need anything to hold them down here. But this part here in the center, you really can't trim. Now, when I'm making it, I put my finger in like that to get as close as I can, because I really don't want to have to trim off a lot. And I just take the knife in, push it in, and just keep pushing it deeper and deeper and deeper till we pull out a little plug. And I've looked at some of the old ones, and they can be a little bit rough in here. That mine maybe are a bit too highly refined. But I'm making them for use in modern kitchens, and that's the way we like them today. So, you know, art reflects the time somewhat. And these are reflections of the time. So, you know, a historic pot, traditionally used for baking a potica. Okay, you know, I have been giving this outer edge a little bit better angle, that when it's on the wheel, it's hard to see that and get it exactly as you want it. Not that that has to be done. It's just a damp sponge. I go over that cut, not to wear it down to the fine grog that's in the clay, but to just give it a little smooth out, dampening it a bit, then go over that edge again with my thumb, rounding it off, taking my stamp, and let's see, I'll do this left-handed so you can see. And I've been putting the stamp on the side, and I've been putting my signature on the bottom, along with the date, 2025, and the number. I'm up to about 70 or 80 of these now, but I'll check that before I write it on there. It is now April 24th. These are the largest I will make this year, at 10 pounds each. They were actually turned on the 15th. I'd maybe prepared the clay a few days before that, so the largest I will make, I think I've showed a little bit of all parts of the process with each of the different sizes. Beyond those are the mediums and the larges. The small ones are already onto the bisque and the glaze firing, so maybe we'll present that in another video. The only thing I didn't show maybe is the signing and the stamping. And here we did one big simple one too, not always elaborate decorated, so offered both plain and simple. And if you didn't catch that, that was over a week. You know, the forming of these, a lot of it is monitoring them so they're at the right stage. You know, they're made one day. To decorate them, I allow them to firm up just a bit. So that means actually first covering them loosely with plastic, so hopefully it'll dry out a little bit down there and not all up the rim. Then the decorating, then letting them dry again, this time covering just the rim, hoping that it'll dry out in there. And that needs to dry out before I can cut it off the bat. The bats this year I used were plastic, so that presented a whole new problem, or maybe a different problem to deal with compared to wood that would have dried out the bottom. And then we hopefully eventually get them to the point where they can be turned and the bottom trimmed and turned or trimmed, depending on what you call it. I then dry them upside down so that pots dry from the top down so that the bottom will dry. So, and there is that signature that I told you I just finished up today. Sorry, I'm not going to demo that. I forgot to turn the camera on. But that's important. I think that it can be read compared to a stamp, unless you're a, let's see, where is mine? Unless you're a multi-generational family in the ceramic industry, pottery, and that stamp means something. For most of us, it don't. So people have found me who have got my pots decades back because of the name. So I'm going to get a stamp that reads that.
I am exhausted just reviewing the video. In next week's video, the same thing we did here. I will walk through some of the stages that we don't always think about. Loading them in the bisque, especially when you have a large, small kiln. Waxing the bottoms, the glazing, which is a problem too. I enjoyed doing this show because, yeah, last time I heard my name called out 3 times. The Slovenian Potter. Thinking about getting a t-shirt maybe that has that and maybe an image on the front. I have taken it on as my mission. This is something that was almost lost over there when potters were no longer needed in the world. So I've taken it on as my mission to reintroduce it here to people who don't know of it, and for those who've actually been over there and found out that you really can't. They're afraid to bring them back. Mine are stoneware. The ones over there I think are mostly earthenware. Last year my mission was for an area between Pittsburgh and Cleveland where so much of the population is. But last year even Canada came down. Not sure that that'll happen this year. Okay, we'll move this process along. Next week, stop back and see what's going on in the studio. It is that time of year, March 3rd, and it is time to start getting ready for Slovenfest. And here are the first 5 small ones at £2 off the wheel.